welcome to the Mindful Making podcast. This is a video podcast and it's mainly about knitting and the joy of making, but it's also about the small joys in life and life in general. Knitting is my mindfulness practice. That is what I do when I need some peace and quiet, calm. So I hope maybe knitting do that for you as well. So hopefully you have a project, grab it and sit down with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, and hopefully you will enjoy half an hour in my company where we can talk about our passions for yarn and for knitting and for making in general. I am Jane and I'm Danish, living in Australia, and you have landed here in my living room in Hornsby Heights, north of Sydney. Today it is Sunday, the 5th of July, and I just need to redo a stitch here. So just give me a moment. It was knitted instead of purled in the last row. Okay, there we go. So you've landed in my living room in Hornsby Heights, which is north of Sydney. It's a beautiful day outside. It's probably 20 degrees and a beautiful sun, clear. So when I recorded this podcast, I think I will check my sewing machine outside and do a bit of sewing out there and enjoy the sun and the beautiful weather. You can find me as Mindful Making on Instagram and on Facebook. On Ravelry, I'm Mindful Making AU, which is also the name of an Etsy shop that I have. In that Etsy shop, there's just a few items. There are some project bags that I make and some produce bags. And then I've also put up some yarn that I've sitting in my stash that I've realized I will not use. So there is some superwash merino in sort of retro colors in there, so please have a look and there might be something of interest. But anyway, this is about knitting, and I want to apologize that I haven't been able to keep up with my regular once a month sort of routine and schedule for the podcast. This one is slightly delayed. And that's due to some things that has happened in my sort of non-knitting life, and I will talk about that towards the end. So if you're not interested in, if you're only interested in the knitting part, then you can skip the end and just listen to the first part. And if you're curious, you can stay until the end. But anyway, I am working on a pair of socks. And this is the tricky thing about talking and knitting at the same time. So let me just run through to the end of this row and I will show you this sock. It's a vanilla sock type thing, nothing fancy. It's just very wearable, and this one is for my oldest son. So this is how it looks. It's just a 2x2 ribbing in the leg, and then a heel flap and gusset, and then just ribbing on the top. I am almost done. I had thought that I could finish this yesterday evening, but well, it didn't happen. I was too tired. But this is number 2. So I have the first one here. Size 42, 43 type. It is snug on his feet, but that's how he likes it. What I find tricky is to do the heel, not to do it right, but to get the right size on the heel. Sometimes it gets too floppy just around the ankle here, but I think I've nailed it this time. And with the ribbing on the top, it just keeps the sock in place and fits it on the foot. So I hope this will be all right. This yarn is from my stash, and it's my attempt. I've nothing, there's nothing wrong with nylon and it, you know, in a good sock yarn. I was just trying to use what I had in the stash and trying to avoid the nylon. So this pair is worked in a 100% lamb's wool. This is in Danish, Moerk Rullesten. So it's sort of dark stone color from Garnudsalg in Denmark, held together with this is also, as you can see, a dark gray alpaca, thin alpaca. So I think that would add strength and durability to the wool. So I'm holding those together, and I'm just working on a 2.5 millimeter needle. So it is quite a tight fabric, which also adds to the fit, I think. So for sure these will be done tonight. And I'm quite proud of myself on this one because when finished knitting it, I did the Kitchener toe straight away, and I weaved in the ends. So that's all ready, and he's tried it on and it fits perfectly. So that's what I'm working on at the moment. So, but sorry for just jumping into on the needles project. It's not the usual structure, but anyway, let's just go with the flow. So those are on the needle. What I am wearing today is a shawl that was my Christmas treat project a few years back. So this is the Skane Sisters shawl, and it's designed by Libby Johnson. She is truly Myrtle, and you can find her on Facebook, and of course also on Ravelry, where all her patterns are published. She is from New Zealand, and this is a beautiful sort of lacy sectioned shawl, and with a few stripes in between. This is worked in Circustonic Handmade, one of her hand-dyed yarns, and it was a Christmas special, I think. Oh, sorry for the microphone. Let me just pull it off and I can show you. So here it is, and so these are the yarns that I chose. This was the hand-dyed yarn, and then I added, oh, there's something here. Then I added two colors that I had in my stash, so the red in the stripes and then the blue. And it has these beautiful wavy ends to it. It's a crescent-shaped shawl. So very wearable. It is a bit warm today, but I will just wear it. Watch out for the microphone. So it's, I really like to have something around my neck. So here it is, sort of just a relaxed styling. Yeah, so I really enjoyed this one. Yeah, so I'm just looking over here towards at the side here where all my projects are laid out, the projects that I want to talk about today. And not surprisingly, as you would seen in the intro, not surprisingly, the color scheme includes gray, but there's also black and brown in this color scheme today, which is quite interesting to see that that's what I'm drawn to at the moment. So moving on to finished objects, I have finished my shawl, which will be hopefully a pattern coming out in the not too distant future, or at least a call for test knitting of this. It is a triangular shawl, and it's quite wide. And I will insert a short film of me wearing it so you can see it in its full beauty. This is worked in the beautiful yarn from and colored, dyed by Pirate Pearl yarns, and this is on the Blackbeard 5-ply fingering weight yarn. It's Hard Candy Collection shade number 19, Polworth 90% and silk 10%. So you can see it there. Hopefully that turns out correctly when you look at it. So it's a local Australian yarn. It's 340 meters per 100 gram, and I have used 2 skeins until here, and then I had to break into the 3rd skein. So the final pattern, I will reduce these sections a bit for it to be a 2 skein project. But it's squishy, cozy, wonderful, soft, beautiful. So I've really enjoyed working with this yarn. So you can see it here in when it's caked up. It's a beautiful, subtle color of a browny pink nude type color, and then a gray blue, icy blue type. So now it's just to get the pattern written. A learning for myself. Next time I have a design in mind, I write it up first, because now I have 2 projects that are ready to be written into patterns, and it's that's a hard part. It's the easy part to knit it, so I'll have to get cracking on that. You will need to keep me accountable for that. I had thought I would have it ready. I wouldn't record a podcast before I had written down the pattern, and I could use, I can call for test knitters in the podcast. You would never this episode would never have aired if I've stuck to that promise, but someday, I promise. Another almost finished objects. It's very popular in the Northern Hemisphere to do vests or slipovers, and I wanted to do one as well. So this is the one that that is almost finished. Basically, it's just sewing in the hem around the armholes, and I've done it on the neck. The second one is pinned. It's not very professionally done. It's just it's quite embarrassing, but that was just what I had at hand the other day when I was working on it. So well, this is reality. Let's just face that. So, and it's just a beautiful ribbing, waist ribbing. So this is the Lux vest, and it's designed by Sanne Fjelland. She is a very skilled Danish designer. She makes beautiful patterns. I have had the pleasure of translating some of her work, and I will put a link to her Ravelry page and her web page as well if you're interested to look at her beautiful designs. A huge inspiration and very talented designer. So this is a Lux vest, and let's just talk about this. I wouldn't call it the elephant in the room, but this hem up here. Can you see it just flops out a bit, sticks out? And I think I will have to redo it and go down a needle size. Needle. This hem here, I think, will work better. So this will be done in a flash when I put my mind to it and sit down working on it. The pattern actually asked for reverse stockinette, but I've decided to go the traditional, and but I think you can actually work if I do this pretty enough. I think you can use both sides. You can turn it inside out and wear it with the reverse stockinette as the right side as well. So this will be done shortly when I put my mind to it. It will be done in a flash, I hope. The yarn that I've used for this is it's not surprisingly a combo of a wool yarn and a silk mohair. It is worked on needle size 4.5 millimeters as far as I recall. It is again a 100% lamb's wool, black from Garnudsalg, from my stash. I didn't have any silk mohair in my stash, so I had to order some new yarn, and it was an absolute pleasure. So Sunspun yarn, I ordered some. So Sunspun yarn is a yarn store in Melbourne, I think, as far as I recall. So I ordered the ISAGER mohair, and it's 75 kit mohair, 25 silk, and this is color number 60. And you know, I was just a bit short on the silk mohair, so I had to pull some from my swatch. I had to unravel the swatch to get a bit more of the silk mohair. So when I ordered it, I thought in the pictures that this would be a dark gray. Or maybe you can, if I can put it down here. But it's more brown. But I think it's pretty, very pretty. So it gets this beautiful dark brown, mild texture or color. It's very warm. It is intended for a gift, and it was intended for soonish to be delivered, but with the COVID and still no international delivery time from Australia to Northern Europe is horrendous, because all packages will be sent by ship. So it takes 3 months to get a package through from Australia to the Northern Hemisphere. So I'll have to wait until Christmas for this, to gift this one, I think. But then I'm ahead of time, pre-planned and everything. So this one is almost done. The Lux vest, designed by Sanne Fjelland. It's beautiful, a lovely project. It took me a week or something to make it. So it's absolutely lovely project. I can recommend that. So I think that's all for the finished objects, and you have seen what is on my needles, you know, well, basically two almost finished objects as well. When I ordered the silk mohair, I also wanted a bit of just plain, easy to work with sock yarn. So I ordered the Lang yarns Jawohl or Jawohl. So this is a superwash. So this is new wool is what I call it, or so this is virgin wool, 75% and 25% nylon. So here I then go against what I just said previously, but this is just this is my favorite so far. wool or sock yarn. And also because it's just these, sometimes, you know, hand-dyed yarn are beautiful. But sometimes I just need a plain, single-colored yarn that is just a workhorse yarn for socks. And also if I want to do some lace pattern or other, you know, structure in the sock, I would go for a more neutral, sort of single-colored approach. And also because my children have asked for new socks, so this will be suitable for the boys as well as the grey socks that I showed you previously. So this just sitting here waiting for, typically socks are in between projects for me, so when I'm just contemplating what the next bigger project is, I do is a sock. I do have the 52 weeks of socks book, and I would love to try one of the patterns in there and work with this yarn. And you know, during the lockdown, when we can't go out shopping or can't be entertained, we can't go anywhere, now, you know, we can go on vacation and weekend trips and go away, but then the soccer season has started, and that then takes up all our weekends, so now we can't get away. Anyway, it's actually school holidays now, so the kids are off for 2 weeks, so we could have gone up north towards Queensland. I had a bit of, you know, week's break or something, but no. There is 3 times a week training for my younger son and games in the weekends, so we will just stay at home. My daughter is in year 12, so the last year of high school, so she has some work to do as well, and my older son is a soccer coach as well, and of course he has games and training on as well. So we will just stay here, staycation. And I guess to I don't know, it's not about entertaining, but you know, sometimes you just feel like a bit of a retail therapy. And so I saw a beautiful yarn on Instagram one day, and then I thought I just have to buy it. And I guess I have something with brown at the moment, so I bought these 3 skein of beautiful hand-dyed yarn. So it is brown, black, a bit of orange as well, and this is from Stitchcraft and Witchery. Beautiful name. So handcrafted with love and just a touch of magic. Awesome. And this is Jittery Little Wicket. So this is from a Star Wars collection, and it's on Thumber's Thump base. So this is an 85% merino, 15% nylon, a DK weight, so 225 meters per 100 grams. So a bit heavier than I normally work. I usually work with fingering weight. Let's just see here. But aren't they pretty? And then there was this little progress keeper attached to it, to the order. Beautiful, thank you so much. And now I just have to figure out what I want to make with these. Whether it should be a shawl again, a wrap, cowl, or maybe a vest for me. They're squishy and soft. And now my husband comes back. And so now my husband comes back from training, and I will just do a short break and come back to you later. So I am back. The house is now quiet again, so I can finish the podcast. And We have talked about the knitting projects, and now I wanted to talk about the reasons why this podcast is recorded later than was originally planned. I usually try to do one a month, but we just ticked over into July this time. And the reason for the delay is that I was informed 2 weeks ago that my role, my day job role, that role was made redundant. And so I just had to go through the motions and a bit of emotional roller coaster just to accept that that's the case. And also, I think I'm now in the position to look ahead. Honestly, though, that during the last couple of years, I have been thinking that it might be the time for me to look for something else. I've been there for almost 8 years, and sort of the exciting tasks sort of dried out for my role. So in that sense, it's probably a good thing. There is because I've been there for some years, financially I'm okay for some time. And one of my previous colleagues, she just had the best reaction. She said, "Oh, congratulations, Jane." She said, so that helps me a lot. I've talked to her about that I was maybe a bit bored, so I was looking for something else, but not seriously though. But now I have to get to that, and I'll start next week and sort of start looking again. I will still have 4 weeks notice, so I will do work for the remaining of July, but maybe it also gives some freedom in trying to think of what talent of my many talents that I should play moving forward. And at the same time, the uncertainty of when there is a new role, because I do need a day job to contribute to our financial obligations. So it's not that I can just sit back and do nothing, but yeah, let's see what the future brings. So that's just some of on the personal news. There are probably we are many in the same boat, so it's not something to be embarrassed about. That's something I have to work with myself to acknowledge that it's nothing to be embarrassed about. I've done a good job, and I will be able to do a good job again. Maybe there will be more time to actually finish those knitting patterns that I always keep talking about. So maybe this is a blessing in disguise. Who knows? Who knows what the future brings? So that was a bit of the sort of personal life stories. As I said, we are moving into the school holidays here, so the kids will be home from school, and I'm working from home as well, and not having too many obligations work-wise. I can be around my children, and we could have a good time together. I think it's to get the most out of the situation. There's nothing I can do about it anyway. So with that, I might leave you, and I think I've almost done the sock for my son. I did a few rounds while waiting for the family to disappear again, to leave the house. So it was nice and quiet. Yeah, so not far until starting. It's only 4 rounds, and I will start to do the toe. That will for sure be done today. Thank you for watching. I hope you are well and enjoy the summer. If you're up north, it will be your summer holidays, so enjoy that. Bring your knitting and a glass of wine and really enjoy the holiday period. And for us here in the Southern Hemisphere, we will enjoy a bit of school holiday as well. I know many are going camping and enjoying a bit of getting out of the house opportunity. So enjoy that, everyone. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again. And before I click stop recording, thumbs up would be lovely. Subscribe and hit the bell to be notified as well, so you don't miss an episode. I'm looking forward to seeing you again.